right? So let's get into that. I also have a pattern, a pay for it. So let's check. So let's take gold, for instance. So gold wasn't, okay, right. So let's do this. Cool. So here we are with gold, right? It was not here at the time when I was actually looking for a curve instruments that were compatible with it. So if please take note of this. If the buy limit and the sell stop are compatible with continuation patterns, do you know what does that mean? Let me give you a second to think as to which what is a sell stop and a buy stop compatible with. So I hope you got that right? So sell limits and buy limits are more compatible with the reversal patterns, right? So for instance, a sell limit, right, would be you having a resistance. Say maybe the market was somewhere around about here, right? So if you use a sell limit, it would be you saying to the market that, as I always say, guys, for example, that look at how the market is approaching a certain level. So suppose the market is approaching that level correctively. As a result, when it gets there, it will change direction. Let's assume that we already knew that it was going to change direction. So if we know that by the time the market touches that resistance level, we're not going to be in front of the markets, then it is in that regard that you would use a sell limit. Because a sell limit is basically you saying to the market, should the market fail to break this level and change direction and reverse, then when it hits this price point 19.37, then it must execute a sell position for you with hopes that the market is going to reverse and go to the downside. So that is such conditions in which you can use a sell limit. That's what a sell limit means. It means that if the market approaches this level, fails to break this resistance, then I'm going to sell. So in other words, you are basically selling what? The resistance. Right, so that is what is a sell limit. And then a pure example of that would be this that I see on gold. It has already happened, by the way. But if you look at this, look at what is happening on gold. Gold has been playing between the support and that resistance level and also this mid-range level. So if you look at this, you'd see that it rejected here, broken, and then there was a resistance, failed to break above, failed to break above. So if the market, for example, was somewhere around about here, and then you would say that should the market fail to break this level, then it must trigger you into a trade when it reaches this particular level. Then indeed, it could have done that if you had used a sell limit. Then you were going to enter that trade here, then it was going to maybe a stop loss there, and then it's going to trigger you into a position, right? So let's take, for instance, the current moment. Let's not talk about something that has happened already. So if you look at this, this is a support level that gold has been respecting. So let's assume that gold is not going to break below, right? But it's going to go back to the upside. So using a sell limit would be us saying to the broker that should the market go to the upside, reaches that resistance again, if it does fail to break that resistance, then please, broker, trigger me into that trade with hopes that the market is going to come back into the selling momentum. So this is what it means to use a sell stop. Then a sell stop is the same thing now when it comes to a buy limit. Sorry. So that is what a sell limit means, right? Then a buy limit is the opposite of that. So I'm going to first start here in gold, right? So if you look at this, this is a support level that gold has been respecting. It failed to break it for 2 times. So a buy limit is you having a support level like this. And remember, I said it's compatible with reversals. So should the market, so it will be you basically saying to the market, considering the fact that it's approaching it correctively, then by the time it hits this level, this price point, 16.97, 1697.92, then it must trigger you into the trade with hopes that it's going to reverse and go to the upside. So for instance, at gold right now, if gold fails to go back to the upside, then you would wait up until it reaches this level. And then without you, if you know that you're not going to be there by the time the market, or you're not going to have time, or you're not going to be at home, or you're not going to be in front of your charts, so you would use a buy limit. Then a buy limit would then trigger you into that trade without you having to do it manually, should it go down back to that support and fail to break it. So it is under that condition that you can use a buy limit. Right, so when you use a buy limit, it's you waiting for the market to reach a certain price level, and then eventually it's going, with hopes that it's eventually going to go to the upside. So that is what you could use. So these type of things, guys, are there to help you. You must use them. Right, you must know also when it is the right time to use them, because as I always say, that sometimes entries, despite your knowledge that you have in forex, but trading, is as a whole, does need you to have that intelligence. I'm not saying you must have a great mind or something, but like at least timing, like timing. That's what I'm trying to say here. That entries are also a timing thing. So if we can look just for another one, maybe on let's see, Euro AUD. Let's see what's going on Euro AUD. Let's see what's going on Euro AUD. Nice, perfect example. So if you look at Euro AUD, let's drop it to the 4 hours, right? You'll see that Euro AUD has been from high, low, high, right? So this is a strong support level. And the reason why Euro AUD failed to break that one is a result of that still a resistance level. So if we want to still buy Euro AUD, because in as much as this is a impulse correction, we could still have sells. We can have sells if the market is going to respect this head and shoulder that is forming here. Look at this. This is a left shoulder, head, then that could be a right shoulder, then we can have the breakout, then the retest, and then sell. Right. So we can use different types of pending orders in this scenario, and I will get into them now. If we are anticipating that the market is just giving us a higher low, but it's still eventually going to continue with its direction, then we would say on the MetaTrader 4 platform that when the market reaches this support level, which is 1.4721, then it must trigger us into a buying position with hopes that it's going to continue with the momentum. But we could also use a sell stop here under the condition that if the market breaks the same support level, turn it into resistance, then any price below this price point, say for example 1.47094, then that's when we could use a sell stop with hopes that it's going to continue to the downside, right? So that is what so in this type of scenario we can use different types of orders, right? So, but I wanted to show you here, also another example in which you can use a buy limit, but I also realized that there's also an opportunity for when we can use a sell stop, but based off the fact that if it breaks that support and turn it in resistance, then that's when you're going to sell, and hopefully it comes back here. Yeah, right. So guys, just to clarify something, I did say that buy stops are compatible with continuation patterns, but it does not mean that in a condition like this, because this is almost a reversal, it also applies into reversals, because if the market fails to not continue, then that would mean it's reversing there because of the fact that we have a head and shoulder that is emerging. Then that would be then a reversal, but still a sell stop does apply. So you must not limit yourself by that. So that's the clarification that I wanted to make, right? So let's check for another example in which we can maybe, let's see, on the DXY, because I did have an example of a sell limit. So for example, let's look at the DXY, right? So if you look at the DXY at the current moment, let's go to the 1 hour time frame. So if the DXY does go to the upside, so we could have a sell limit because we know how strong that resistance is. Then a sell limit would be us waiting for DXY to go to the upside. So by the time it reaches this level, we would then enter a position, but using a sell limit that if the market reaches that level, fails to break it, then we're going to use a sell limit. Then that's when we're going to be triggered into the trade, and then the market is going to come back down if we are maybe anticipating something like a double top there. So it is under that condition that we can use a sell limit. And then let's see. Okay, I explained sell stops, and I think that was enough. Buy stops, yeah. So yeah, guys, let's just a last one now, which is the buy stop. Right. So for instance, we have this previous low, right? We have here an emerging double bottom because we have this support, we have a nice candles, bullish engulfing. So if we wanted to buy this market, we also have a trend line here that I'm seeing. And this is again that reversal pattern I'm telling you about, right? So it is under such conditions that we could use a buy stop, because we would then say, should the market break this price point at 399.636 and maybe hit this week, which is 400.523, then if we wanted to buy this, if we were not sure as to whether we can buy it now or we're not going to be in front of the charts now, then we would then say on MetaTrader 4 platform that at 403.96, the broker must trigger you in that, must execute or trigger that position on your behalf with hopes that the market is indeed going to go to the upside. And then you will allow the fate, you will allow the market to decide your fate, because that's going to be your entry point. Then you set your stop loss maybe somewhere around about here, and then hope that the market is going to go to the upside. Then you set that as a take profit level. So anything that happens afterwards, it just can happen. Because even if here the market could trigger you, give you a retest, you must not panic. Because for as long as we are still above that particular level, we're still looking for buying opportunities, and also depending on the type of candles that are going to form by that support level. So that is under this condition in which you can use a buy stop. So yeah, guys, I've reached the end of the video, and please do check these videos out. All right, so you can also understand where does all of this come from, and also this type of patterns that I did show you about. So yeah, I hope you liked and enjoyed this video, and like I always say, abuse that subscription button. I will most definitely see you on the next video.